I never planned on telling anyone this. Honestly, I thought I'd take it to my grave. But if you're watching this, it means I finally decided to tell the truth about what's out there. I've lived alone in the Appalachian mountains for almost 3 years now. At first, it was supposed to be peaceful. No neighbors, no traffic, no distractions. Just me, the cabin, and the woods. But what I've seen here, what I've heard here, isn't something you can just ignore. And if you're smart, you'll never come near these mountains. When I first moved in, I thought I'd found paradise. A little log cabin with a wood stove, a hand-dug well, and enough trees to block out the rest of the world. The days were quiet, filled with simple chores, chopping wood, hunting squirrels, boiling water. Nights were darker than I'd ever known, the kind of darkness where the sky swallows you whole. At first, the silence was calming, but the longer I stayed, the more it began to feel unnatural. It wasn't just the absence of noise. It was the way animals stopped moving when the sun set. The way the wind died completely, as if the forest was holding its breath. That silence wasn't peace. It was warning. The first time I noticed something was wrong, it was 3 a.m. I woke to what I thought was laughter. Not loud, faint, carried through the trees, just enough to make me sit up in bed. At first, I told myself it was hunters camping out, or maybe kids partying. But then I heard footsteps, slow, crunching on frozen leaves. They circled the cabin once, twice, and then stopped right outside my door. I sat there, holding my breath, gripping my hunting knife like it could save me, and just as suddenly as it started, the sound faded into silence again. The next morning, I found nothing. No tracks, no sign anyone had been there at all. I wanted to believe I imagined it. But a few days later, I found something carved into one of the trees by my cabin. A symbol. It wasn't a hunter's mark. It wasn't any letter or number I recognized. Just a jagged circle, broken with lines like veins. I tried to laugh it off. Probably just kids messing around. But the more I looked, the more I saw. Symbols on 3 different trees, all pointing toward my cabin, and that wasn't the only thing. I started catching glimpses at the edge of the tree line. A shadow, moving too quickly to follow. One night, while fetching water, I saw a lantern swinging in the distance. It bobbed slowly between the trees, as if someone was carrying it, but the light never got closer, and when I walked toward it, it disappeared. The woods felt alive, watching me. And then my journal changed. I keep a small notebook for hunting and weather notes. Nothing special. But one night, flipping through the pages, I found something I didn't remember writing. Tonight, the knocking begins. My stomach dropped. It was in my handwriting, my style, my pen, but I never wrote those words. The next page had another entry dated for tomorrow. Don't look at their faces. I wanted to burn the whole thing right there in the fire, but something in me, curiosity, fear, I don't know, made me keep reading. And then the knocking started. At first, it was soft. 3 deliberate knocks against the back wall of the cabin. I froze. Waited. Then 3 more, this time against the side. It moved, circling me, knock after knock, like something was tracing its way around the cabin. I didn't dare open the door, didn't dare peek out the window. By the time the sun rose, I thought I'd imagined it. But when I stepped outside, my blood ran cold. Every wall of my cabin was covered in muddy handprints. Not the prints of a grown man. Not a child's either. Something in between. A week later, I hiked into town for supplies. I thought maybe I was losing my mind. Maybe I needed human contact. At the diner, I mentioned the symbols on the trees. The room went quiet. Forks stopped clinking. One old man leaned toward me and whispered, "You should have never stayed there past the first winter." When I asked what he meant, he shook his head and wouldn't look me in the eye. Nobody else said a word. That was the moment I realized I wasn't imagining this. They knew. They just refused to speak it aloud. By the time I got back to the cabin, the journal had another new entry. "Tonight, you will finally see their faces." That night, the voices returned. Dozens of them, calling my name, begging me to come outside. I pressed my back to the door, heart hammering, and peered through the window. That's when I saw them. Figures. Dozens of them, standing just beyond the tree line. Pale, stretched faces, all smiling too wide. Their eyes locked on mine. They didn't move, didn't blink, just waited. And then they all spoke at once. My name, my real name. A name I hadn't told anyone out here. I don't remember how the night ended. I don't remember falling asleep, or if I ever did. But I do remember this. When I checked my journal the next morning, the final page had been filled in. Now you've told them. And now they know you too. I don't know if it's a curse or some kind of ritual, but the symbols, the knocking, the faces, they don't stay confined to these mountains. So if you hear knocking at your walls tonight, don't answer. If you see symbols carved into trees near your home, don't follow them. And if you do, you're already part of it. Beat of silence. Leave a comment if you've heard anything like this before. Maybe together we can figure out what they want, before it's too late.